film review, movies, music, culture, politics, society podcast, interviews, movie reviews, and more. Live Sundays at 5:30 p.m. on the Film Review Live channel. Subscribe.
Hi, this is Bernadette Stanis, Thelma from Good Times, and you're watching the Film Review.
What's going on, people? Listen, do we have a great show for you today? It is 213-943-3358. Listen, what's happening is, did you see what happened with DL Hughley, right? Did you see what happened to DL Hughley, where he finds out that he's actually contracted COVID-19, right? Yeah. And for all the people that were out there and who didn't believe that this was happening, that this doesn't happen to black people, well, it's just now so. And of course, we've been telling you over the weeks to prepare yourself, right? Yeah. To get ready, to be knowledgeable, right? As I do this, I do this promotion and spread here. You can see us on the Film Review Live channel on YouTube right now for simulcasting. You can call in at 213-943-3358 to be on air to talk about the situation, right? And we are on tfrpodcastlive, Lordlandfilms. That's right. We are on tfrpodcastlive, Lordlandfilms on Facebook, right? So we're simulcasting right now, right?
On this special day, Father's Day.
On Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day to all the fathers.
That's right. So we want to say that.
To the fathers, godfathers, right? Because some people don't have children.
They don't have children, but they are playing an integral part in the development of the youth, and we want to make sure, we want to shout out to you for that.
Because it takes a community, right?
It takes a community. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Let me make sure this level is popping. Okay, people, look. Let's start with the blurbs of the week as we get started this week, right? And because we're going to get more into depth into the DL Hughley situation, right? But we want to definitely start with the blurbs of the week, right? And American black politics, right?
It's hot.
It's very important. Yeah, it is. Under the lights, it's hot, people, for sure.
Well,
right?
And today, like the weather.
Yeah,
it's over 100 degrees.
Over 100 degrees today, right? So look. We want to start with this, which is the American black politic and the film review blurbs of the week. So, first of all, how was your week?
It went quickly, right? So the week went by quickly, and like the spikes, the coronavirus spread. I mean, it's just states that used to be yellow kind of turned, was it not quite orange, but close to it. But I think some of them, right now we're orange. And I know Florida's were red. I think California is orange now, right?
Yeah, but their cases are going up, right?
Yeah.
So people, this is a real situation that people weren't taking, not necessarily taking so seriously, right? What else?
Oh no, I was just saying when I was talking about the colors, because on the map, they have like red means an extremely
50,000.
Right, a high amount of COVID cases. Right. And then
we only have 10,000 in Nevada.
Oh, okay.
Right. So that's what it is. So again, happy Father's Day 2020. This is an interesting Father's Day 2020, 6/21/2020 Sunday. It's real interesting what's going on. But blurbs. So let's look at the blurbs.
Okay.
the Trump rally happened yesterday. It was supposed to happen on Juneteenth in Tulsa, Oklahoma, who is the people there, the American blacks there are commemorating the 99th year of the massacre that took place, right? And so they're commemorating that. Now, do you believe that was just happenstance that happened, or he has people planned there that understand that?
Right, they understand that. And the thing is his rally was just, I don't know, it was kind of like a build-up. Mm-hmm. And it was just the same. Letdown. Yeah, it was nothing that Trump had never said before, right?
Right.
Of course, the Juneteenth event that was held in Tulsa, actually, they hold their event the entire weekend, right?
Right.
So that right there was the issue. Now Trump, he moved it a day, right? A
day past.
Yeah, because he moved it to Saturday, right?
The 20th. That's right.
He moved it to Saturday, but the point is they have a celebration that entire weekend, right?
Entire weekend.
The entire weekend. So while he was holding his rally, they were still holding Juneteenth events in the same city, but there wasn't anything, it was just the same. Nothing different. I didn't expect him to, but he didn't mention anything about police reparations. I knew he wasn't going to say that, right? But he didn't mention anything about police reforms, so it was kind of like a big build up, and I thought it would be more to talk about as far as his rally, but it was just a big.
It was a letdown. It was a disappointment, right? Yeah. Because it was they were expecting 100,000 people, and 20,000 on the inside and 80,000 in the overflow, right? But come to find out, the K-pop people said that through TikTok they went through and pushed the campaign to go buy these tickets to make it seem like it was a lot of people coming. And the K-pop fans are like majority Chinese, right? Yeah. And so the Chinese show you that they are, even though the Hong Kong is having trouble with mainland China and trying to take it over so it will no longer be a democracy but go back under communist rule, they're showing you that they still have solidarity to one another.
Because those teenagers, because the group K-pop, they have a huge following, right? So those...
And they lost a band member this week.
Oh, yeah, they did. They sure did.
And so, they went out and pushed...
Yeah, they're fans.
K-pop is a sound, though, right? It's more than just a group.
I know about the group because I saw them perform, on the Billboard Awards and on the...
But I think it's a movement of different groups that fall under that K-pop.
It sure is. Right? Okay.
And so they went out and pushed this. So they show you that they have, even though they have trouble with their mainland, right? They still have Chinese solidarity, and they push through to make sure that, you can't mess with our leader. Yeah. You can't mess with our economy by trying to make us buy. So it's still the politic that's pushing this through, that's making this happen, right?
Because they did show multiple acts.
Right.
Under K-pop.
Under K-pop. It's a style. Yeah. It's a style of music, right?
Okay.
So, the K-pop fans, right? We talked about that. So, COVID-19 cases. Nevada is orange. Okay. Florida is red. Okay. Right? Aren't we glad?
Ohio is a golden color?
No, it's either orange. I haven't looked at it because
I remember it had went up one day and then a couple of days later it went back down.
Because I was looking, I'm only looking at because I'm talking about Nevada and Florida because the NBA back in March was proposing to come to Nevada, right? And aren't we glad that we have the governor that we have, Governor Sisolak, who is not implementing phase 2 because he does care for the people out here in Nevada. So you have to say that he cares for the people out here in Nevada, and he's not moving to phase 2. Other cities states have moved to phase 2, 3, and you can see the amount of people who are being affected, right? So aren't we glad that the NBA is not coming? Because all those different people converging from other places, just even if they didn't have an audience, a crowd, fans to watch the games, right? It's still a whole bunch of people converging on the city of Orlando to facilitate this coming. The people who are who run the cable. The people who are the people who are going to program the games to be able to be shown. All of the people who do the web side of the games. All of that's going to converge on Orlando, right? And we can learn from Trump's advance team, where 6 of them tested positive for COVID.
That we know of. Right.
And I wonder if his advance team included, they're not saying who, but I wonder if his advance team included his press secretary that comes out and gives the daily briefing. Because she said she wasn't going to wear a mask.
Oh, well, they wouldn't have said.
No, they wouldn't have said, because they're trying to keep people's until they're ready to come out, their identity anonymous until they're ready to come out, right?
Okay.
So Texas, Florida, Arizona, rising in cases. California had 5,000 more people pass from the virus, right? In the red by the coronavirus COVID-19 map that they've been showing, right? Las Vegas is orange, right? So what can that be said? People have been out there, and it takes 2 weeks for people to know it, right? And we're coming to DL Hughley in a second, right? So
you have a lot of non-believers. Like the conversation that I had in the grocery store, there's a new cashier. She's new, and she's a person that would fit into the high risk category.
Yeah, real high
because
risk.
She's an older woman and she's obese.
Yeah.
And clearly she's a Trump supporter.
And she had the mask on, so
because the
employer is required, but if it wasn't required, she wouldn't have the mask.
And so some people are just like clueless, because she's one, when her shift is over with, right? She walks around.
It appears by her conversation. Right.
Because she didn't agree with wearing a mask.
Right. She was like, well, they're actually testing more people, so the numbers are going up.
And see, that's what I was, me and her, I had to educate her on that, because, I'm not one that just, even though I'm active on, social media, and we're doing this podcast, I don't back down, right? So she was a Trump supporter. I gave her my opinion. She didn't like my opinion. Whatever. But you have to plant the seeds, right? And but it's just her logic is just like, I didn't argue with her, because you don't waste time arguing with anybody. But she made a stupid comment, and I, had to reply.
And which was what?
Her comment was, she said the only reason that the numbers are high is because people are getting tested for COVID. So to me, like, I was asking you, like, I don't understand the logic in that, because I've also seen that on the news. Like, a few reporters, like, for instance, I saw it on Fox, and someone said that, it was one of the representatives from one of the red states. Not red states, COVID states, but Republican state, right?
Well, most COVID states are red states.
Okay. Well, they said the opposite on Fox. They said the most COVID cases are Democrat states, remember?
Is that what they said?
That's what they said. But anyway, my thing is, okay, so I don't care if they tested 1,000 people today at 12:30, right? If they all tested positive, you still have COVID cases. Like, right. I don't understand the logic. Well, had they not tested them, we wouldn't have that many cases. To me, the issue is they have COVID. So the scary thing is, how about all the people who have not been tested and they're walking around with COVID? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I don't understand. And Trump said it at his rally.
Mm-hmm. He said that they're testing more people. Stop testing as many people. Isn't that what he said?
Yeah, he stopped testing as many people.
Slow down on testing.
Slow down on the testing. And then one of the reporters said he was joking. And I'm like, but that was the same stupid logic the woman had in the grocery store.
The same logic.
I mean, it's just so stupid to me. Okay, so yeah, they were tested. They were found positive. So they're COVID spreaders. They can pass on COVID.
That's right. So
the number is still going to be high, it's just stupid to me. Better you know that a person has COVID compared to not knowing, because at least, they're getting treatment for it now, right? Mm-hmm. So it's just stupid.
It's just...
what did she say? The woman said, it's not real. They're just playing with the numbers. I'm like, no, they're not playing with the numbers, because I get to see the numbers daily in my profession. I see the numbers. They're not playing with the numbers. They're just making it up. No, the COVID virus is in the bloodstream. They do the blood work. They're not playing with numbers. So it's just like, I don't understand the logic. So is this like, for some people, they think this is a big hoax. People aren't really dying. So what? They think these are actors on television?
Yeah. But just like I was telling someone today, I said they need to take the cameras into the hospitals and show what's really going on. They stopped taking the hospitals into the theater of war, because they found out during Vietnam that it caused the American people to say, "In this war is unjust," from what the footage they were seeing. And ever since then, they believe that American people should be treated like children and only be spoon-fed. This is what the media thinks. So they're not, if they take them into the hospitals to show what's really happening.
No, because the people who see this and they understand that this is real, right? Mm-hmm. They understand it. They don't need to be walked into the hospital to see, because, like I said, the woman I had the conversation with who thinks that this is all an act. I'm like, okay, so you think that the people who were on TV talking about their loved ones who passed away, they're just acting, right? All of these doctors and nurses and other people who worked in the hospital. You had people that worked in the lab on social media crying, showing what was going on. You remember the one person on social media, the guy who worked with the equipment, and he's turned the camera around so people could see what was going on. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I'm like, I know people who passed away from COVID in different states. I have family all over the United States, and I've lost family members from it. And I know people who lost family members and friends. This is real. But you have some people who are like cuckoo. Like, they're just not getting it, or just don't care.
Or they just don't care. But all at the same time, I think because people can be in their own bubbles depending on who they friend,
okay,
or follow, right? And so they have to be shocked into reality. So I think that the cameras, the media going in and showing you the depth in which, how packed the hospitals are, how people are in the hallways, how people are in death mode. But didn't we see all of that?
Didn't we see on social media the bodies?
No, that's social media. They need to see it through the television. And once the television starts showing you some truth about what's going on, then those same outlets who have social media outlets will then also show it to you, and then they will say, I believe it, because it's not a bombardment. Because in between what you're seeing about the reality of COVID, there's other people jumping around dancing,
right?
Just like Donald Glover's
This is
Childish
America.
Gambino. This is America. While that is going on, there's people still going on, still doing comedic things, still jumping around and dancing. People are getting choked out, and people are doing the twerk dance at rallies and things. And so it's really not concentrated, and so it has to be concentrated.
I just think it's the personality. Some people are, I don't know. I find that some people are detached. They choose to be detached from what's going on. And they're trying to live their lives as if everything is okay.
Was that a Freudian slip there? You said they're trying to live their lives?
Oh, did I?
Yeah, was that a Freudian slip right there?
Lives.
But they're trying to live their lives.
You know, I mean, as if everything is okay when it's
not.
really not, right?
Right.
So on another channel, what channel was this? Was it CNN? Or it was either CNN or MSNBC. And I think it was MSNBC. And the correspondent, he was saying that we used to be able to identify like Trump supporters with the Make America Great Again hat, right? So he was saying that now, basically, he said, I feel like you can identify them now when you're out, those who are not wearing masks versus those who are wearing masks. Because like the woman who I had the conversation with in a grocery store, she's a Trump supporter. She didn't believe in masks. She thinks that this is all a hoax. So, I mean, I don't know, but yeah, you do see half and half, right? So when we went out, we saw like people who were wearing their mask, and then you saw those who were, okay, this is the thing for me. The ones who don't want to wear masks, those are always the ones coughing and sneezing.
Always.
I want to know why this is.
Why
Clearly something is wrong with them.
Why is it that you're
they
coughing
should be wearing
and sneezing? It sounds like you're getting ready to honk up a honker, but yet you're not wearing a mask.
Right. And my cousin Dale was telling me that. She was saying, she said, I was walking down the aisle. The woman on the other end, she said at the end of the aisle, she started sneezing. She said, I just did a U-turn and went the other way. And she said, and she wasn't wearing a mask either. So we're trying to figure out, what is this with these people who, okay, so you choose not to wear a mask, but you're the ones doing all the coughing and sneezing.
Yeah, it's just really ridiculous, right? So we have our watch party going on TFR Podcast Live. TFR Podcast Live, that's all one word. Search it on the Facebook. Search TFR Podcast Live Lordlandfilms page. We have the watch party going, so you can come in there, put your comments in, and we will read your comments on the air. If you're not writing there, we won't be able to read your comments until after the show, because it's showing on different parts of Facebook. But the Facebook watch party is going on right now on TFR Podcast Live Lordlandfilms on Facebook. Also, we're on YouTube at the Film Review Life channel, right? So you go right there and you come in, and we will read your comments. If you don't want to call in at 213-943-3358. If you don't want to call in there, we will take your comments either place in episode 118. Now moving on from the COVID for a second. Okay, so, George Floyd was strangled, his inspiration, his breath was strangled out of him by a knee for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. The Minnesota legislature was unable to pass comprehensive legislation that would stop chokeholds by police officers, right? Now, my head doesn't screw on and off. It doesn't screw on and off, which lets me, which informs me on the fact that they are trying to do the same thing.
But we don't know for sure yet, so I wouldn't. But yeah.
So they would not. They are like on the same thing that they're on. That okay, these people are going to go through all this, all of the destruction, all of the protests. Now the destructive wing of the protests have kind of been moved out. So now it's the peace-loving. We're about peace. Let's make this a peaceful rally. Right. And now they come up and say that they cannot.
Right.
Now these are Democrats, and they can't come up, majority Democrats, right?
Right.
And they can't come up with comprehensive legislation that stops the chokehold of black people, right? I mean, this is unbelievable. It's something like they're trying to play with you, people.
Yeah, they are.
They're playing with you.
Because, I mean, the unions, right? Mm-hmm. So they said that, they said the Republicans are in line with the police unions, right? Mm-hmm. One group said, the Democrats said the Republicans are, in a line with the union, police union, and vice versa. The Republicans are saying that the Democrats are, also working with the union. So they both don't want to pass aggressive laws, I guess. But what about Tim Scott's, right?
Yeah, what about Tim Scott?
So they're trying to, matter of fact, they talked about it this morning on the news. Tim Scott said he worked with, he's a Cory Booker, correct?
Right.
So, and I was glad to hear that, they were working together on it. But then they showed the support. Well, Fox, speaking of that, MSNBC had with the little ticker below, like a couple of days prior to Tim Scott's press conference. Mm-hmm. And they said, the Republicans will never be supportive of that. That's not going to go anywhere. But then the following day, you saw who? Mitch McConnell. So this is what it is, people. The Democrats, now they've shown you in Minnesota, in the legislature in Minnesota, right? That they're not quite. And remember, we told you in Ohio, in Cleveland, Ohio in particular, there was a district attorney that was sending more black bodies away than into diversion programs, sending more black bodies away. So now the Democrats in the House wouldn't even be moving on this if it wasn't for a Republican, a black Republican in the Senate pushing this through, right? Right. So, I'm black first, right? And so this man, Tim Scott, is black, and he's pushed something through. They say, it's not enough teeth on it. But you know what? It's got the Democrats hopping and jumping where they wouldn't be hopping and jumping before to get something done to say that they would do. You know what they would have done? They would have done that symbolic thing that they did, sitting there with their kente cloth on, taking the kneel, and they would have thought that was enough. But this Republican, I think we need more black Republicans in the Senate, right? Because I'm black first, right? And whatever makes those Democrats on the House side move to prove to us that they are actually for us, by us, even the black ones. Anything that will make them move, we need more Republican senators on the Senate side, right? So this Minnesota thing, back to the Minnesota thing, not being able to pass it. All these people have died. What's going on? Craig Baxter, that is Stereo. He's in here watching us right now. We want to shout out to him. Listen, all of that happened in Minneapolis, right? Yeah. All that did happen, right? Yeah. And they can't pass the chokehold laws. What is that telling you? We saw it today, right?
Yeah, we saw it today.
And was it in New York City when the policemen did the?
They did the choke. They did. Now look. Now, what's his name just signed an executive order, right?
Right.
The governor that supposedly it got outlawed chokeholds, and this guy is holding it down. 4 officers are holding him down. The one dude got the guy in a chokehold like he's wrestling or some shit, right? And he's wrestling, and he's got him in this chokehold.
Right.
And then the dude that's with the camera says, "Man, let up. He's out. You already choked. You got him in a chokehold." Then the other officer pats him on the back, and then he releases him. And then the guy gets his name on there. He says, "Fuck you, Felipe." He's a Mexican. See, we're talking about there's a black and brown solidarity, but it doesn't seem. What was happening during the protests? Wasn't the Dominican gangs?
In New York.
Yeah, the Dominican gangs were going at it, and
they didn't want the
black protesters to succeed. So
and
they
I guess
were going
it was some
black
people who lived in this particular area where it's predominantly Dominicans. They beat up a few black people, and they threatened them, and told them not to come.
Happy birthday to you, Stereo, and happy Father's Day. Happy belated birthday, and happy Father's Day, too, to you.
Your Gemini brother.
That's right. So look, what we're saying is that they're trying to play you. And I don't think that people should be played. I think, well, I'm not going to say that because, you don't want to necessarily
I was surprised to see... Well, then maybe not, because in Florida, they do have a high rate of Cubans who do vote Republican, right?
That's right.
But I was going to say I was surprised to see the little rally they had against the Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
So
now, let's talk about Black Lives Matter for a minute, right? Let's talk about Black Lives Matter for a minute. And 213-943-3358. 213-943-3358 if you want to comment on what we're talking about. We're taking the calls. The phone lines are open, right? So look, let's talk about Black Lives Matter for a minute. Now, when you go on Black Lives Matter's website, right? Black Lives Matter's website. Right, and you go to the About section and you read what they are about.
Right.
You find out that in their writing, what they are about the marginalized groups, not the marginalized groups in the society that we live in, but they are about the marginalized groups within the traditional Black liberation movements. Right. So they are about the marginalized groups within Black liberation movement, which automatically means that is a schism and it's black on black situations. Okay, who traditionally ran by the media the Black liberation organizations were men. But what you find when you do the research is that they wouldn't have done a thing without the women who were basically the backbone of it. So that automatically saying that black women are less in the movement, that's a lie. The media because the media was male. They were male chauvinistic and they were Caucasian, so then they put up the people who were the leadership. But there were always American black women in leadership positions within the civil rights organization. So that premise right there is false. But also what they're talking about is LBGT, right? Right. And Q, and they really focus on that, right? However, because there are so many people in different cities and people are going and getting these Black Lives Matter shirts made, right? And they're out there protesting. What Black Lives Matter was supposed to be about, which is intersectionality and fighting to establish new types of leadership, LGBTQ, classism politics or anti-classism politics, instead of sticking to the advancement of American blacks in this society, right?
Right.
And also immigrants. They want to impose black immigrants into something that first we got to get ours before the black immigrant gets theirs, because they're coming here freely. We came against our will. Right? So that's all interweaving in there. So Black Lives Matter, BLM, the hashtag, right, could start out to mean one thing by what they did on the website, but with so many people embodying it and taking it forward, the meaning of it will change.
Right.
So the meaning of Black Lives Matter will change because people are embodying it and believe that it is about the liberation of black people.
Right.
Not liberation of certain people within the black liberation group to come out front and take over. But no, it's about the liberation of black people, which means there is no division between the various different black people. Right?
Right.
So that's what the sinister thing about Black Lives Matter is all about. It's not really about what you think it's about, but what you see out front in the media. It's what they say they are about on their website, right? So people, on to other news. Theodore Roosevelt's statue of Theodore Roosevelt on the horse is going to be removed from the American Museum of Natural History, right?
Right.
So Theodore Roosevelt is coming down, right? Theodore rode with the Buffalo Soldiers, right? Right. So also many different Confederate flags are coming down, right?
Right.
I mean, Confederate flags
and
statues and paintings are coming out. Right. But all of this is symbolic.
Right.
And we're tired of symbolic. Yeah. When you take them down, make sure that you go back to their state, because some of their people are still around.
Right.
And make sure that you get that reparations away and trace the line of slaves that each one of these. Washington owned 125 slaves, right?
Right.
Yeah, Washington owned 125 slaves.
Right.
And we know we can trace the lineage of his slaves, right? If he swabbed them out, some of it got his DNA. Yeah. And his teeth got their DNA.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
So let's go trace this. Let's go find out what it is. And when you're symbolically taking the statues down and taking the paintings out the rotunda and doing all that on the House side and taking the statues down on the rotunda and on the Senate side, and going around and taking down the different statues in different Confederate stronghold cities within the different states, make sure that we find out what slaves they owned, and make sure that the reparations started getting paid from their family members. Ooh, we don't want to really talk about that, do we? No, not really, right? So these Confederate statues are coming down, right? And they are now taking away films, like they're taking away Gone with the Wind.
That's what I wanted to ask you. What do you think about that? Well, we discussed it.
I mean, I think that if you take that down, then you have to take down Jezebel, which is Betty Davis's movie. Right. Matter of fact, we were watching some Turner movie classics this week. Turner classic movies this week. They're gonna have to take down a lot of it, because, like I said, about 3/4 of the American canon of film is gonna have to be wiped out if you're talking about racism, because most of it was Confederate leaning in those early years, right? It was Confederate leaning, so you're going to have to take that down, and then you're going to have to take down others, right?
Right.
We got a phone call. We're coming right to you. You're gonna take that down.
Right.
You're gonna have to take down half of the county. We just saw San Francisco.
Right.
With Clark Gable, right?
Right.
And what's her name? Used to sing with
Was it Ann Sheridan?
Nelson Eddy.
Ann Sheridan.
No. The singer, the opera singer. But anyway, Jeanette MacDonald.
Okay.
Great movie.
Ann Sheridan was in it too, also, right?
Because
this is the month.
No. Ann Sheridan was in other films.
This
was Jeanette MacDonald and him. And they actually showed you how San Francisco got destroyed during the earthquake.
Okay.
And it well put together for the technology they had, right?
Right.
But there's a scene in it that's disturbing that it would disqualify it from being on. Let's take the phone call. Let's see who we have. Hello. Let's see. Hello. Who's on the air?
Sir, hi. How are you?
How are you? Who's this?
Thank you for taking my call.
Who is this?
Thank you for taking my call.
Okay.
This is Brother Mike.
Brother Mark? Is that what you said?
Mike.
Brother Mike. Okay, go ahead, Brother Mike. What's on your mind?
Yes, sir. You know, the first wave of the coronavirus came and we were all locked down globally. Global economy came to stand still. And then, now we are in second wave in 28 states, and many of hospital beds are pretty much full right now. So, this is, I call it a global reset. Why? Because they are going to use the second wave or third wave, etc. They are going to shut down all the global economy again, and again we go back to channel zero again. So as a result, they done it 3 months, so they know that they can do it, and go back to your home, and then only maybe one or twice a day, a week, you can go out for shopping, etc., come back. And if there is something left over. And right now they have 1 million people infected in Brazil.
Right.
Brazil has a checkpoint, full martial law, and the people only can go out 2 times per week, and by their allowed national ID card. If your national ID card starts with, say, 105, you are allowed a certain time. Those times you have to memorize it. So if you go after that, you cannot go anywhere. They send you back home.
Okay.
Or they, and checkpoints into checkpoints into checkpoints. So what I think, I want to ask you, what do you think of the global reset and shutdown of economic again due to the second or the third wave of the coronavirus? Go ahead, please.
Okay, first let me ask you, are you for that program that you just described, or are you against it?
Repeat again, sir?
Are you for the program, the layout of quarantine, I'll call it that, the layout of quarantine that you described in Brazil? Are you for that style of quarantine, or are you against that form of quarantine?
Of course, of course I'm not in Brazil right now, but I mean, I am kind of course, against that, because, unless you call the full martial law, and then nobody has any right, yes, then you can lock them up.
Okay, so
otherwise, people, you cannot just lock the people up like that.
Okay, so let me answer your question this way. The reason why they know that it's going to be a second wave in the northern hemisphere is because they are predicting what's going to happen in the southern hemisphere right now, because the southern hemisphere is in winter when we're in summer, right? And so that would include Brazil. So Brazil is in winter right now, and thus the virus kicks up in the winter. That's how come they're in the northern hemisphere. I'm speaking from being in the northern hemisphere now. When they say that they know that the flu is going to be bad come the fall, because they know what's happening in the southern hemisphere. So you calling up and speaking on Brazil is exactly the point, that one of the points that we were going to get to tonight, is that we're in summer, you're in winter, right? Or excuse me, not you. I don't know exactly where you're at, but Brazil is in winter. So this is kicking up, and it is starting to kick up and be on fire in Brazil, which means in the other southern hemisphere it's on fire right now as far as the COVID-19. So when it shifts and we come back to the fall and we didn't get a chance to get a handle on it when it was in the first in the first phase of it, right, when we first contracted it, we didn't get a handle on it because people wouldn't wear masks, they wouldn't quarantine, as we can see in these different states is happening. By the time fall comes in, the United States is going to see more deaths because of this, because of what's happening in the southern hemisphere right now. So that's what I see, and I see that people should have taken it more seriously in the northern hemisphere, helped Brazil prepare for it, and other southern hemisphere countries prepare for it while we were combating it, so that it would have been less in the southern hemisphere, so when it came back to the northern hemisphere again, it could be tapped out, and then by the time it turned again to come to the southern hemisphere, then it would be tapped out all the way. But right now, this is going to rage. It's going to have to go through 2021, and we may be finally getting out of it in 2022. But it's going to be a lot of people who have died in the process because people were not willing to have discipline. And so that's my answer to the question to that. And so I think that because people didn't have discipline, more people are going to die. And in the last minutes, they're going to say, maybe we should wear a mask. So that's my answer to that. Do you follow that, or you have another comment on that?
Do you want me to comment on it?
I mean, yeah, go ahead. You're here, and we would love it. We'd love to hear from you.
Okay, so what's your name, brother?
I'm a Crazy D.
Crazy. Okay, I call you D. Okay, crazy. That's why. So, the problem is, as you said, discipline. We were not disciplined enough. I mean, look at yesterday in Oklahoma City when we had, Donald J. Trump talked yesterday. I mean, people have no discipline. Some people put masks, some didn't put masks, but it was like maybe 5% they put masks, 95% no put masks. So what happens is people will take this virus back to respective, states, and those states within 3 weeks is going to be code red everywhere.
Yeah.
My friend, as you can, discipline, because Asia, we have discipline. We put masks, we have air gloves, we have face shields. I mean, we don't give a damn about it. We don't question it. We know it's something we need to do to get less chance. Anything that you do, less chance. For example, if I put my face shield, mask, and gloves, and for example, you don't, the chances of getting the virus is 95%. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah.
But if we both put the mask and you do your job, I am doing my job, chances of getting the virus goes back to less than 3%.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I hear that people just don't have discipline, and that's what it is. All they said at the very beginning. See, I understand. I don't understand. I don't believe that it's right, but I understand what Donald Trump is doing, because in the beginning they set all this up. He found it. He closed down from China. Right or wrong, he closed down from China. 1, 2. He started to implement and get the companies together to produce PPE, and put the guidelines together, and said that meanwhile the media here, who is against him, I don't too much care for Trump, but the media that is against him, and the politicians that are against him because he is not a politician. Now, we've had many racist presidents, but they've all been politicians. So here this guy comes, he's not a politician, he's a business person, and they're against him because of that, right? So I understand what he's doing now, because he tried to set everything up. They were against him that way. So now he's saying, going along with what the majority or minority of the majority of American people are saying, we want our freedom, we want our liberty, so we don't want to wear a mask. So he's going along with what his base is saying. But he set up the structure then, but the media was against him, right? And because he's now moving towards opening everything up to get the economy back, unfortunately, it looks like to me, because the media was against him, certain politicians was against him, he's going to say, let the people die. That's the way I see it. Would you agree with that or not?
Right, exactly. What I think right now, I give you the new figures. We have like over 10 million globally infected, and we have over 2 and 3 million people died as a result. And just Brazil counts are 50,000 dead, 1.6 million COVID-19 cases. June 20th. So this is the latest one. So you can see, and with the 5G network, that every hospital you go to is a 5G network. So then, what it does affect your system. So even if you can survive, you won't survive, because they're using 5G network in their systems. And that also affects your breathing, inflammation, and many other disorders, because, instead of, it's a radiation, it's a weaponized radiation right there. Mm-hmm.
Well, brother, I thank you for that. I thank you for your call.
Thank you, Mike.
And when you call back, I'm just gonna call you Brother Mike from now on, okay?
Yes.
Okay, so
thank you for taking my call.
Thank you.
God bless you.
You guys.
Have a great one. All right, 347, you're on the line. What's on your mind? 347. 347. I'm gonna put you back on hold.
My man D, how you doing?
How you doing? Who's on the line?
Stereo.
Hey, what's going on, Stereo? How you
Hear me?
doing? Yeah, I can hear you now. What's going on? What's on your mind?
What's going on, man? This is Stereo.
I know, I hear you. What's going on? What's on your mind? Happy birthday. Happy birthday, happy Father's Day, all that.
Man, I gotta play the other side of the fence. What thing? Thanks.
Okay, your phone is breaking up.
I appreciate you. You too, man. Happy Father's Day and all that. My thing is this with this whole. Oh, it is? Okay. Hold on, let me try this.
Can you hear me? I just need you. Your vocal was good when you did that. I just need you to listen directly through us, through your headsets, and not try to listen to the replay, because the replay is on a delay. So if you're looking at us on Facebook on the delay, I need you to listen to it through your headsets directly through the Blog Talk.
Okay, how was that?
I can hear you good, but I need you to listen to us through the Blog Talk so it won't be a delay.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead. What's on your mind?
Okay. How was that?
That's good. Go ahead.
That better?
That's better.
Okay. So basically, I believe this much from what I've seen and what I've heard and as well as what I've been reading and studying. Just the whole Broadway show they're putting on right now with the Corona baby. People say, well, I know somebody who died from Corona. Like everybody knows somebody who, or that was told that they would die from Corona, right?
Uh-huh.
So this is the thing. Like it's an error. I got like from people who work at certain hospitals who know certain things. And basically they just want some. We got a memo that anything comes through that's a cold, that's a flu, and they die because of market coronavirus. And I really feel like this is the truth because when you look over at China over there, and you look at Italy, and you look at Germany, all these people sued Bill Gates for turning on those switches over there for the new towers. The new towers is the ones that are lethal. It's lethal. Like when I say the towers, I mean the new internet they use, the J5 or the K4, whatever you want to call it.
G5.
Now,
yeah.
Right. So the thing is this. People don't realize the radiation from that goes 6 miles. And then if you look up research radiation, the effects of radiation, it's like cold-like symptoms, it's respiratory problems when it first start cooking, when it first start being in your system. So my question is that a safe way to say, okay, when we turn the switches on over here, the coronavirus is going to be the blanket over what's really going on. And I believe that because people are having problems now. They say we're opening up phase 1 and all this. But if the whole lockdown thing from 8 o'clock until wherever they put the cities on lockdown, that was the time where they were putting those towers up late at night. You know what I'm saying? And trying to camouflage them best they can, nobody could see them. You know what I'm saying? And I'm a firm believer in that. You know what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, if you look at the stats, I'm trying to make it simple, see, but as you look at the stats, how do you say we got a pandemic and we have a virus and it's airborne and wear gloves and your mask, but we know we opening up on this day? How can you predict that? You can't. You can't predict it. Even they say we open up on this day, and then with caution, well, this is phase 1. This is phase 2. If you look back to 9/11, which America did as well, after the whole thing went on, or before the whole thing went on, it goes, okay, today is the color orange. You understand how serious is hot. All right, tomorrow come out. Okay, well, it's red, so it's kind of iffy. How do you gauge? This is what they're doing. They're playing with us, and they play on our fear every time. It's on our fear. And people not wise enough to see that all this stuff is a game, and it's a hoax. Nobody died from coronavirus. People say, oh, this one died from coronavirus, but come on, okay, we're American people. None of us are doctors. Who's to say what it was? But at the same time, a couple of doctors I know got the memo. You know what I'm saying? That's reputable sources got the memo. So
right.
The point I'm saying is that it's kind of put America under a magnifying glass. You know what I'm saying? With the government and everything, I think that's what's going on right now. In order to build something, you must destroy it first. So they're trying to destroy their system to rebuild their system again. You know what I mean? In a different way, in a whole different kind of way. You know what I'm saying? So, that's basically where I'm at.
Let's go back a little bit. When 3 and 4G came out, they were saying the same thing. they were talking about the radiation from the towers, right? 3 and 4. There's a tower right back there by Archbishop Archibald. Now it used to be St. Henry's. It's back there by in between where Warrensville starts and where Cleveland is on Gardner. It's right back there in the back, kind of camouflage. Looks like a evergreen. Right, that's how they have it masked. Right, it's been there for years. Right now, so radiation does break down, but does radiation cause pneumonia to the point where your lungs lock up like cement?
It depends on how long it's been cooking you, and it depends on how long it's been going in your system. It's a slow process if it's at a certain rate.
Right, but
so it takes 11 megahertz to cook your food in a microwave.
Right, so
they're using like this new stuff is 41 megahertz.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? 41 megahertz, and that's 1 megahertz less than lethal weapon.
Right. So what I'm saying is, but the 5G hasn't all gone up, but this coronavirus came around, and because what actually kills you is pneumonia, right? And I ask people this who are coronavirus, novo coronavirus, COVID-19. It's a long name. Deniers is the 5G is not up all the way up yet, but yet this virus has come around that shuts down using pneumonia, because whatever it is triggering pneumonia, just like the flu triggers pneumonia, or just like HIV/AIDS triggers pneumonia. Pneumonia is what kills you, but it's something that's triggering, that's killing people, right? And so for me as a person, like when we go out, we're covered, right? And we're noticing the people, when phase 1 came in out here in Las Vegas, when they stopped, as soon as he said phase 1 was in effect, people stopped wearing masks. The majority of people stopped wearing masks, and then the numbers went up, right? So I can only go by what I see, stereo, right? Which means that 5G isn't fully implemented, but there's something that's causing pneumonia that goes into your lungs, that congestively shuts down your lungs, locks them up with cement. People are trying to put ventilators in. That's a recipe for disaster. So if it's not, because 5G isn't started yet, and if it's not COVID-19, then what is it that's causing pneumonia to kill people at a faster rate?
Well, this is the thing. It started already. They're not going to tell you when they put them up. They're going to see the effects of it, and then they're going to come with the BS. That's what I'm saying. We don't know if they just started putting them up. You know what I mean? We didn't know nothing about it. It just seeps through the cracks. So what I'm saying is, anytime they implicate a plan, they plan the plan. But that's one thing about America. They plan 6, 7 things at one time. You know what I'm saying? So we don't even know. Like, it's one downtown Cleveland, also by the square, by the Cleveland square that's up. And one of my good friends explained to me how one of her friends rolled past it, and he just, his whole system started acting up like, when you went to the hospital over it. And every time he went by it, the same thing occurred. She shot me a picture of it, and it's one of those things. So what I'm saying is that it's going to affect music, it's going to affect, and I think it's been affecting people, and I think they just, like, they're putting a wall over our eyes. They're making us not see what they're doing with the curfew and all that kind of stuff. They want to say, well, people ain't caring about coronavirus, they ain't covering up. But even when you look at the information on putting a mask on, that hurts you. That breaks your immune system down, your respiratory system as well. So they're giving us things to even make our system weaker. And I just feel like the overall tone is the eradication of human life. Not all human life, but to shuffle it down side so they can finish and continue to do what they do. Okay, and I don't just think it's black people. I think it's a mix of everybody. They're just trying to populate control in another kind of way. You know what I mean? And I just think that, they're not going to say, hey, we put the powers up, guys. Especially after the money they spent probably paying them people off who they sued them over there in Italy and all that kind of stuff. So they buy a new plan. Okay, we're going to call it this. And when we open back up the city, people going to die, but we're going to call it coronavirus when they die.
Okay, so what's... So Stereo, what's to do about it?
What can we do about it? I'm going to tell you what we can do about it. Everybody is so caught up in the midst of what's going on. Nobody's stepping out the cloud like, okay, we got to vote these dudes out of here. If we're going to get together, forget about the rallies. And I'm not saying forget about them in a bad way. What I'm saying is we need to go vote. Because we do have a voice when it comes to who's in office and who's out. And I mean, they cheated in that too. I mean, really. But I'm just saying that shows a lot because you can cheat on the vote if it looks right, but at the same time, if it's a mass of people, it's gonna be hard to cheat on that vote.
Well,
I mean, it's not even Democrat or go ahead. I'm sorry.
I remember the Leviathan 666 book that came out, right? Yahweh Ben Yahweh. That came out and it told about so it laid out everything that was going to happen, right? They put out what they did to mask everything was to put out video games and people caught on to that. Then they wanted to pick up the cell phone. First it was the beeper, then it was the cell phone, then they came with the smartphones, and now they're going to. All this was predicted in that book. And we would tell people about it, but as technology went along, everybody had to go get one because the old technology fell, the 2G, the 1G, all that fell away. So you had to stay connected. So what I'm saying is back then when that book came out and people should have said, well, let's just stay in the Stone Age. But we don't. You know what I mean? So, I mean, even the recording equipment that we used to deal with, right? Malcolm McLaren died of, even with the recording equipment we used to deal with back in the 80s and 90s. Malcolm McLaren died of cancer from meninges, where the plastic thing, but it came from the asbestos that was pumping through the speakers. So any technology could kill you as long as it kills you within 30 years, they say, right? Hello? Uh-oh. I think we might have lost the signal there. Going once?
No, I'm here.
Okay, going. Right. So did you hear me there? Any technology can kill you. The speakers that we were dealing with in the 80s and the 90s. Malcolm McLaren died from something that came from asbestos, which was the asbestos in the speakers. And we used to be in the studio. Studios would be hot. I remember being in an EQ studio and the speakers would just breathe on you. And you would be listening to your song and the speakers is breathing that asbestos. So any technology can kill you. Was that a sinister plan by the speaker company to kill up people who was doing hip hop or R&B or alternative music?
Right. I mean, I agree with you there, but at the same time, I think it's just what it is like when you look at it overall, man is really headed for self-destruction with all this technology, and it's true because they're gonna do so much and keep doing so much to it hurt the whole situation with us. You know what I mean? Not just us, but everybody. You know what I'm saying? Because it'll affect you. Like I know you've seen it when they put like 3 or 4 phones together and put a popcorn kernel in the middle of it and it pops. That's the radiation from the phone. Like our wave was 50, diabetes, heart conditions, respiratory problems. The new wave for the millennium is going to be brain cancer. You know what I mean? All the things that this stuff going to bring. It's a new wave, but they're making it even worse. You know what I'm saying? I guess what I'm really saying from what you're saying, real talk, is give me a slow death, not a fast one. That's all I'm saying. If I'm going to go, let me go slowly. Well,
I want to thank you for calling in, and again, happy belated birthday. Gemini.
Before he goes.
Okay. Tracy has a question. Tracy has a question for you.
Okay. You know how
how you doing, Tracy?
Fine, how are you? Okay, so when you stated America, that's good. When you stated America, can have multiple things going on at one time, right? And we know this is true throughout history, right? But do you think, what was it a few years ago? Was it it was the Ebola virus?
Yeah.
Ebola virus. Do you think right now it could be a combination of the 5G along with this virus? Could it possibly be multiple things going on?
I think that what they're doing is they're causing and I think it's just a scare. It's just like you go to the doctor and he say, this such and such, you have cancer. Your whole energy is pointed towards that now. You leave office with your head down. You came in walking up strong and proud. I think it's a placebo. You know what a placebo is, right?
Yes.
Placebo is a sugar pill. I think it's just them saying is, you control the mind, you control the body. That's a fact. And so you control the head of anything, you control the body. So I'm just really thinking that that's what it is. Now, I can tell you from experience that even when I go to Walmart, I went to Walmart the other day, but when I go out, in my mind, I'm still thinking that G4, that G5, and then at the end of the day, I start breathing funny, and it's just funny in my head, but then it may not be. You know what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, I'm just thinking that it's a placebo. You know what I mean? If that answers your question,
yeah.
I don't think they're doing anything with any kind of virus. I think they're just putting it out there. And I think that the reason that Bill Gates patented the virus, patent everything, and patent the serum, because that's another way they're going to make a lot of money off the American people again, because everybody's going to run out to get it. You know what I'm saying? Because they're thinking like I'm thinking and stuff. I know that. You know what I'm saying? That's what I really feel.
Well, we'll take it right there.
It's like this.
Go ahead.
Let me say one more thing on out, B.
Okay.
It's like this. If I go on the internet and ask everybody on the internet for $1, to you $1 might mean nothing. But think about 1 billion people, $1 might mean nothing to. I'm going to make $1 million. Because people will say that $1. So the point I'm making is that all they need is they all over the world with this. You know how many people going to buy this and go out to get this? That's billions of dollars. And they're not asking for $1. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah. They're asking for lives.
That's another part. That's part like 6 of their plan. You know what I'm saying?
What are they injecting in people? That's the other question.
Well, this is what I'm studying right now, even more because I've got this little virus thing. This little vaccine thing coming up, about. So
yeah, I know, and that's what I was saying. I was thinking, are you letting out a little bit too much information right now, where people can be listening and be ready to counter you? You know what I mean? But we appreciate you calling up. I really appreciate you calling up because your perspective is good, and we're just going perspectives and get people's different opinions to let people decide, right? So we want to thank you. We want to say happy belated birthday,
yes,
Gemini.
Happy belated birthday.
And happy Father's Day. And thank you for taking time out of your Father's Day to call into the film review.
Yeah, thank you. We appreciate you calling.
For sure. Yeah, you know you're my dude. You know I had to do that. You know I had to pick you up.
I appreciate you. I'm going to be there. All right. Talk to you soon.
Okay, cool.
So that was Stereo, Cleveland, Ohio hip-hop legend in his own right, production, known in New York, known worldwide, really, with his production, right? So if you don't know who Stereo is, you need to get to knowing who Stereo is if you don't know, if you've been under a rock. But anyway, people.
We had 2 very good calls.
We had 2, Brother Mike.
Yep.
And Stereo. Yep. 2 different sides of the...
Brother
situation.
Mike, he mentioned because I found that interesting. He mentioned the
5G
also
right.
along, and Stereo did too.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering now what we could do about this. Like if
I think myself looking at it, it's a situation where it was already written in a book. And it was already said what would happen and how it would be mine. Because it talked about it in Leviathan 666, right? People didn't want to believe it.
Right.
People didn't want to hear it. But you have to be open to listen to a whole bunch of things. But what can you do about it? That's the whole thing.
Because I don't know what show I was watching a couple of days ago, or whose podcast I was listening to, but this person talked about their child. And I think the child is maybe 4 or 5. And I remember the person saying, "Oh, my child already has a cell phone." So, you just, so it's just scary overall. How many years has it been since we stopped using the microwave? You remember I was like...
Yeah, we haven't used the microwave in
let's take a break from the microwave. Because we already have enough technology around.
Enough technology between the equipment and it's all radiation, really, right? Yeah. So people, look, what came across the pike earlier yesterday was DL Hughley performing, right? Yeah. He was performing, and then next thing you know, he was collapsing. Right? And his performance. Prayers go up, but he was able to come on and talk about his experience. Because at first, when you watch the video, you think that he's had a stroke. That's ultimately the first thing that you think. You think that he's had a stroke, and that because what happens is he's talking, but then he becomes non-coherent in his language, and you hear the person in the back saying what, and then you say what, and then they start laughing because they think maybe it's part of his act, and then he kind of slumps down and his mic drops, and then his handlers, I guess, they come in and catch him before he falls off the stool because he had just sat down on the stool, right?
Right.
And then they lay him down, and then they drag him off stage, right? And all you see is the last part of the scene. It's like a movie. You see his feet dragging, right? And you're like, oh man. So the first thing, the caption was, DL Hughley may have had a stroke while performing, right? And so when you listen to it, so as I listened to it, I said, I actually saw someone have a stroke, right? Because he started being non-coherent, right? Yeah. So it was nice to see a few hours later that he was in the hospital. He was sitting up. He went on his live and he told the people that, that everything was fine. And he talked about the comedians and how the comedians, they should have had more nicer things to say. They was wishing him death and all that.
Yeah, he was joking.
He was joking. He said, that's nice to be joking like that, but not really. I would like to have more nicer things to be said, right? Yeah. And then he revealed that he was diagnosed with having contracted COVID-19. Right? So what's happening here? And he says that they said that he was a carrier.
Oh, right? Okay.
And he said that he was a carrier, but he was asymptomatic. Okay. Meaning that he didn't have a fever. Right. He didn't have a sore throat. He didn't have
a cough.
He didn't have a cough. He didn't have trouble breathing. Right. Respiratory problems. Right. So he didn't have any of that, right? Right. And remember, we were watching the different coverage, and I was like, the people out there, and then I see some people constantly out there, and I'm like, why aren't they contracting this, right? Mm-hmm. And then this happens, and then later we saw him collapse, and then later he talks and he says he is being diagnosed with it asymptomatic, doesn't have all the symptoms, doesn't have a fever, right? But he is a carrier.
Right. And what triggered it, because he is, asymptomatic? Mm-hmm. He said that he was, dehydrated?
Dehydrated.
And he mentioned something else. Dehydration, and did he... I guess he was preparing for his performance. He didn't get much rest.
That's right.
Right. So those were the two things.
So not enough rest.
So you're saying not enough rest, and he was dehydrated. So the people who are walking around who may be asymptomatic, right? So if they can be triggered, I guess, right? So if they are dehydrated, or maybe if they go without rest,
right.
It could trigger them as well. So the people that's walking around like without masks, who feel like, I won't catch it, or I'm immune to it, because some people say they're immune to it. If triggered, they could, same thing could happen. But I'm glad that DL Hughley is. I'm glad because
I
was worried.
I thought that I had saw a person actually have a stroke. You hear about it,
yeah,
and you hear about the non-coherent language that comes,
right.
And for him to be, he's coherent and able to speak, and so it wasn't a stroke that would take his ability away from him, right?
Right.
But he collapsed. He was dehydrated, and he had lack of rest, right, leading into, because he is the breadwinner of that family,
right,
and so it's a lot of stress, not withstanding being the breadwinner of the family, but also battling the different topics that he battles concerning Donald Trump.
Yeah. So the stress from that also.
Because he takes on many different people's arguments, if it be the immigrants, which I don't agree with that argument.
Right.
And I don't agree necessarily with the black and brown coalition, because we've seen throughout the weeks and throughout the months and throughout the years that the brown and black coalition is not quite there. It's good that you do it, but the brown has to show that they're for the black. They're just like the Caucasian, what we talk about. They have to go be on the front line, and they have to put some skin and blood in the game. They have to be the ones that's getting lynched for it, for true black liberation. Because we as American blacks have talked about this.
What do you think
about?
Have
talked about it and have cajoled and have speak. We can go back all the way back to Frederick Douglass, him writing and saying this. We have done that, right? And so now it's time for the people who say they are really for American black liberation and the end of police brutality for people, and for people to take their rightful place in this society. It's time for them to step up and take the slings and arrows if they're really for the people, and that's the way that is.
Yeah.
What you gonna say?
No, I was gonna ask you, what do you think about Rand Paul blocking the lynch bill that Kamala Harris and Cory Booker put together, because he doesn't feel that it's an accurate description within the bill for lynching. And then you look at,
which makes it unconstitutional. Right. I mean, I don't care about war. We know who Rand Paul and Ron Paul are, so we would know who they are.
Meanwhile, there's multiple lynchings going on.
There's an anti-lynching bill that has been sitting in Congress since 1822.
Yeah.
It's been sitting in Congress since 1822. So,
yeah.
Why would you think it would be so easy to push this bill through that they did when they had that sitting in the Senate?
Because it says nearly 200 anti-lynching bills were introduced in Congress during the first half of the 20th century.
In the first half of the 20th, you see, so you see what you're dealing with there.
Bobby Rush also introduced one January 3rd, 2019.
Right.
And they didn't do anything.
So they didn't move on it, right? So they really would have passed it. All it took was they really would have begrudgingly passed it, but it would have took just one senator like Rand Paul. So, Rand Paul looks all innocent and stuff. People think he should have angel wings. He's got that blonde hair and them blue-green eyes or whatever, and everybody thinks, he's harmless. In my opinion, he's one of stuff. Like I said, I'm pro-black. I don't believe or give Caucasians any credit other than they stole everything, and they did a good job of kicking our butts, right? But I don't give them anything. If you're gonna prove to me that you're really for me, because once the reparations question come up, and it's the 51 trillion price tag that I'm looking at now, once that comes up, we're gonna see what's up with people. Because when it's money, when we research Frederick Douglass and he had the abolitionists coming around, when money started to come, greed starts to come, and so there's the story on that. So DL Hughley, dehydrated and
lack
of rest. Yeah. Just coming through the news is that Chadwick Boseman just got rushed to the hospital for exhaustion.
He was admitted and released, so he's released now. So
for exhaustion, right? And
is that what they said?
That's what you showed me, right?
Well, is that what they said? Well, they said that he was admitted and he was released.
Right.
So, but we don't know why. It could have been exhaustion because he is doing a lot of work.
No, they said that he was emaciated. So emaciated means that you haven't been resting and you haven't been taking in the fluids or necessarily the foods necessary to sustain your body.
Because he's got a project coming out, and I don't know what form of, because there's different types, right? You have the taekwondo, you got the martial arts, and then you have, what's the one in Brazil?
I forget what that's called, but what about it?
So he's doing a film, and it's a period piece. And he's actually been training with a person who specializes in it. So the Five Bloods just came out. He just
finished doing that.
Right.
He was thin for that.
As well as he's been working on this other film and he's got Black Panther. And so I think, and what is there? Yeah, something else, huh?
Yeah, but I'm just saying. But
so he's got probably a lot going on.
That's probably got him. But he was emaciated. Yeah. So emaciated. So whatever that is, and then you got the COVID-19 going on, and you got everything else going on that you're seeing out there, and speaking out on that also. So it's really things that are happening, and you have to be able to take care of yourself and not assume that this is not going to happen, right?
Because when you're busy, like sometimes you have to literally like force yourself to like drink something and get something, and because like I'll say to you, because you'll be in your office and I'll be like, here, drink some water constantly, right? Eat something, make sure eat, drink something. I mean, because sometimes
that's right, drink some water.
Yeah, when you're busy and working, and time flies by, doesn't it? When you're busy,
time flies,
and then it's just like before you know it, you look up and you be like, "Dag, I missed lunch," and then you think about it, and be like, "Dag, I didn't even eat anything for breakfast." So it's like the day will go by really, really fast. So you have to make yourself remember to drink something or eat something, but. Isn't this what their assistants are for? I would think. Shouldn't their assistants be making sure that they stay hydrated and
eat
their fruit and stuff?
That's what they should do, right? But people, so DL Hughley did this, right? And so we're making sure that he's around because he's a voice. Because we don't have Paul Mooney right now, right? Which we could have had Paul Mooney, but Paul Mooney is now not as coherent as he could be because something is going there. What did one of the heavies who passed on a few years back say? What did the heavy who passed back a few years back say? What's his name? The one who wrote the book Nigger. What's his name?
Oh, Gregory.
Dick Gregory.
Right.
Dick Gregory said, "Drink more water." When your throat feels dry, what causes dementia is your throat is dry when you're younger.
Wow.
Drink more water, and you will cut down on having dementia. That's what he said, and he was coherent to the end. And
that's true.
And poignant and to the point, and sharp as a tack to the end of his days. And that's what he said.
Dehydration is.
That's right. And he would know because then he went on the fast, remember?
Right.
Where he did none of the fast and he took weight down and he was a thin man for the rest of his life.
He wrote a book, actually.
Yeah, he did. Right. Sure
on
did.
diet.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so he would know. So little things. So maybe Paul Mooney should have been drinking water. More water than drinking.
Because every time
we saw him, he would be getting drinks, or any video we saw, he'd be getting drinks for people. Now you're talking against Caucasians, and you're making people laugh about Caucasians, and then the people who are bringing you drinks are Caucasian.
Yeah, when we saw him at the
but I'm talking about even on DVDs or on specials on HBO, or whatever. You look at it and you say, you're talking about Caucasians, but you're taking drinks from Caucasians.
See, that's where it goes back to the assistants, or either I would say some of these celebrities, right?
Right.
They should make, if they don't have any, I'm sure they have a relative around who's around a lot. Make somebody an assistant, right? Because this person you will trust that this person will give you your water or juice or whatever, food, without any type of contamination, right? Because I remember, because we would say, oh my gosh, I wouldn't trust these people, because it would be like the different waitresses and stuff. I remember this one waitress, when she brought Paul Mooney a drink, she had like an attitude.
Yeah.
Because he his jokes, he kind of in the same vein. I always thought of him and Dave Chappelle like a similar.
Dave Chappelle is smoother.
Well, yeah, Dave Chappelle.
Dave Chappelle.
And
Dave Chappelle did something that was different than Paul. Paul Mooney was in your face and said, "F it," you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Dave Chappelle came in coming from a majority white community. He knew the jokes, he knew the slang, he knew the lingo.
Right.
He came in that way,
right.
And then he started hitting them with logic.
Right.
It's not something that's gonna pound you like where Paul Mooney goes in and says, "This is why you are deficient. This is why you are this."
He was pounding, This is why he was. He's great at what he does.
Because he
both of them.
Because he opens up, starting with everybody else, and you're sitting there in the audience, and you're watching the Caucasians laugh at everybody else.
Yeah.
Then he gets on to talking about Caucasians, and Caucasians can't take the same medicine that the other people take, and they're laughing.
Black people laugh at each other,
and then the Asians were laughing, the Mexicans laugh. But when it gets on to the white folks, their face turns stern. Right. People are getting up, leaving,
and the white waitresses would have an attitude, and we would be like, "I would not trust her with my drink. Why are you taking that from her?"
So that's just. It's just what it is. Let's see. Tanya Congress says exactly. He had built up an immunity through diet, natural and spiritual. Yep, and too many carbs. It does have not eaten all day. It does. So fasting, right? You were talking about Dick Gregory there, right? So look. So that's how that was. But Paul Mooney, but Dave Chappelle is different. He came in with Half Baked. Right. He was in Men in Tights, the Robin Hood movie.
Oh, that's right.
Right, and he was in other movies. He was in Zoolander. Yeah. So he knew how to be amongst and amongst them. Then he came out and he tells just logic.
Right.
And people have to look at logic. So his stand-up is different. DL Hughley, his stand-up not only going at people in the audience, right? But he also knew how to talk a certain aggression. It's aggressive jokes towards situations that are in society has to do with Caucasians too. But
he's another great comedian too.
And so his voice needs to be there, right? And we just wish Paul Mooney, that would have been the trifecta to have Paul Mooney
gosh, that would
healthy.
Could you imagine a concert with all three together?
That would be
DL Hughley, Dave Chappelle,
and
Paul Mooney.
That would be just fantastic.
Talking about a conscious comedy.
A conscious comedy, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see, Tanya Conger says, yep, I saw that up front at a concert, Paul Mooney. They got up and left. You should have seen the beat red faces.
Oh my gosh,
right?
they get angry.
Yeah,
and what would we say every year? We would say, do these people not know his comedy? Like,
have they not researched? Have they not looked at the videotapes?
I'm like, this man has been around for years. He's hilarious.
So we are happy that, you know, we are more than ecstatic that DL Hughley is healthy.
Yeah.
It was not a stroke, but it was dehydration, and now he has to quarantine for 14 days. Okay. Make sure that he doesn't start to contract, right? And then they'll go back and test him again and say whatnot, right? So people, now the film that the show that we have that we're talking about tonight is The Bold Type, right? That's on Freeform, right?
Yep.
So, it's about three ladies. We're gonna get the cast member, but set up the situation of how they meet. You know what I'm saying? Set up the situation.
So they are three friends who all meet at it's a fictional, compared to Vogue magazine, right? Mm-hmm. So it's a fictional magazine. Mm-hmm. And one of the ladies, well actually two of them, start off as what do you call those people? Interns, right? But they do so well, like the one who came in the door as an intern, it was temporary, but they liked her and she saw that there was a need for another intern in another department, so she spoke to the person in that department, and then, you know, she stayed on. And eventually, you know, when you watch the show, you see them grow in their careers. So, but two walked in actually as interns, and, you know, last season they were hired. They were full-fledged employees. Now, the one girl, Kat, the black character for Kat, pull up the cast. She started off the show. She was new at the time. She was the new director of digital marketing.
Okay.
Right. So, I love that about what I love about this show is that
it's multicultural.
Yeah, it's multicultural, and all three of the girls, they get FaceTime, they get dialogue, they get storylines. Like the character Kat Addison, she's the black actress. She plays Kat Addison, played by Asha D, right? You know, you said isn't she the star on the show because she has a main
she's
role.
like it's an ensemble.
Yeah,
those three is an ensemble, and then they have an extended ensemble cast.
Yeah,
but they are the three that the main story wraps around. But hers is the focus. Yes, of the story,
and that's what I love about
it. And she's an Australian. She's Australian black, right? Coming in doing the story. Yeah,
but what I love about her character is normally, you know, when we see black people on the different shows, on the multicultural show, they're kind of like, as the different comedians say, the best friend, right? And they get a few lines. But she's an intricate character on the show.
She's the lead as far as I can tell.
Yeah, and I love how each of the girls have a story, a strong storyline, each of them. And so the cast, Katie Stevens, she plays Jane Sloan. Aisha D plays Kat Addison. Megan Fa plays Sutton Brady, right? And then you also have Melora Hardin on the show. She plays Jacqueline Carlisle. Matt Ward plays Alex Crawford. And Luca James Lee plays Ben. And those are all the
main.
Yeah.
And then they're supporting cast.
Oh, right? And Samuel Page, he plays Richard Hunter.
Okay. Yeah. So what's interesting about this piece is it's not just the standard fare in film and in TV, right? You're going to have to see that the main lead, who again is Australian black in the lead, she's going to be. This is the way that they're writing for TV now. She is LGBTQ in the story, right? So she is a person who doesn't know if she's necessarily heterosexual or homosexual, but in the beginning she's hetero, then all of a sudden she has an experience as homosexual, and has a lesbian lover as a lesbian, and so she's going through and pushing through as that person, right? So first season is one thing, and so it's had 4 seasons, right?
And then the last season she has a boyfriend now.
Right, so each season is better than the last, and right now
the writing is great
because of the COVID-19 virus. We don't know. It's a 5th season is up in the air right now, right? So you have to be able to put your mind in the thing that you're going to see this in this, right? It's like when you watch commercials today. Like you can't go through a commercial without seeing. It's like it's a push for some reason for American blacks to be seen in the light of being bisexual, homosexual, LGBTQ, right? You'll watch a commercial, like they got this commercial about this drug that's supposed to keep you from having the antibodies for AIDS, and it registers so you can still have, it's basically a drug so you can have sex, unprotected sex, right? Now you go through all the things, they show you all the people, they show the heavier set woman and the black man washing the dog, and they show the guy, he's a white guy, but he's holding a boat, he's showing how strong he is, but they've got to show you the black man and the black man kissing in the commercial. It's like, why didn't you show any other people kissing? Why has it got to be a constant push on this? It's like, what's really going on, and what is the agenda on this, right? Now we know that buck busting happened on the plantation, right? We know that not only were women raped by the slave master, but so were black men on the plantation. We know that, right? But why is this always a constant push on this, right? Why is Black Lives Matter about fighting it appears the heterosexual male, when the heterosexual male gets a lot of things done, right? And never downplay the contributions or the side-by-side actions of the American black female, right? Never downplayed that whatsoever, ever, right? Because everybody knew that that's the way it was. When you research the civil rights movement, you see who was the backbone and the strength of it, while the men were going out there and fighting, and many times they would stand side by side marching too. But they needed people to be back to formulate plans and to call in and do stuff. The organization is just as important as the mobilization. So these things are set on false premise that all of a sudden the men weren't like that. And Rustin, I can't think of his initials right now, but he was the architect of the March on Washington. He was it wasn't LGBTQ then. He was a gay man, but he was the architect. So everyone participated in it, and all this is false premise, right? So going back there and putting all that in to come back to the story. Now you have to understand that the bold type is pushing an agenda. Bayard Rustin, right? The bold type is pushing a agenda, right? And once you understand that they are pushing an agenda, then you can look back and say, oh, okay, that's just them pushing an agenda, right? That don't mean that my nephew or my niece or my cousin or my did has to go that way. But if they are LGBTQ, fine. It's cool, right? Live and let live, right? Live and let live. That's what they're doing, right? Live and let live. That's what I say. But pushing the agenda to people and pushing the laws, like the civil rights laws that were supposed to be set aside to protect black people as a protective class, have now been used to protect minorities. We were not a minority. We were a protected class of American blacks, right? Protected class. We were not a minority, but somehow we got put in with the minority. The next leadership that came up after Martin Luther King was assassinated put us in with the minority. So the minorities are anyone who came in, but they did not suffer to need the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment. The 13th Amendment says, which is always a loophole. And that's what we need to talk about Trump's situation for. Trump signed the executive order about police and talking about, within there they talk about chokeholds. Now this is standard racist, right? And so you look at everything, you can look at Biden with the 100 to 1. 100 to 1 as far as cocaine, crack or ready rock to cocaine, 100 to 1, right? So let's look at what they said. Let's look at what they said when the general walked into Galveston, Texas, because they didn't get the memo that the Emancipation Proclamation was out. So in 1865, after he read the Emancipation Proclamation, he says this. He has another sheet that says that the people will, that slavery is over, and that all things between owner and slave will be equal. Now, if the proclamation has stopped right there, the declaration it was. If the declaration has stopped right there, it would have been cool. But it's another line, which says it will be the owner to the employee, which automatically puts them in two different levels. The first line said everything will be equal between the once owner and the slave. Then it goes into there will be the businessman and the employee.
Trick-a-ticks.
13th Amendment. There will be no slavery is about. There will be no slavery unless duly convicted of a crime. Loophole. Slavery is still alive and well.
Yes. Because because we've seen them harass, people who are just minding their own business, walking down the street. How about the 3 young boys who they told them that they were jaywalking and they arrested them?
No, it was 2. It was 2.
Was it 2?
They beat,
I thought it was
and
3.
they grabbed the one, and then they had him down and said, "Why are you arresting him?" So they arrested the other. They put the other one in shackles because he wasn't. But the younger one, because the younger
they were like 14?
Yeah, well, the other one was older. He was about 16, but 14 is when the man starts to come from out the boy. And so they have to break, like the older one was more, he was more not soft, but he was more cooperative. But the younger one has that viralness, and that's when it starts. So there's another scene where someone had their cell phone, and they've got him in the front seat of the car the one cop is beating the crap out of him in the front of the car after they did that, right? So this is what we're looking at.
Maybe,
right?
So that's when the mother, they said the mother, I'm not sure if it was CNN or MSNBC, the mother has him in counseling, right? Because they said she said he's going through like trauma, right?
It is a trauma.
PTSD. It's traumatic. He's only 14. So it's just crazy. And they said that how is it jaywalking when there's no sidewalks? There wasn't a sidewalk.
That's right. It was overgrown, so they were walking in the street. How many times have me and my friends walked?
And it was a little side street too. It wasn't a main street.
Right. So how many of my people we have walked during the time, and then that would come up. We're going to play basketball or something, and that would come up and happen.
But see, that goes to, like you said, trying to give them a record or trying to put them into slavery.
Trying to put them into slavery. They were jaywalking. They were breaking the law. Got to go into juvenile.
You cough or sneeze while crossing the street.
Oh yeah. You in Mississippi back in the day, you got to put your head in the life barrel. Because if you don't put your head in the life barrel, you might get yourself lynched because you broke the law. You can't laugh as a right? So look. So all of this was supposed to be set aside for us, but then it went into the minority, and now the Supreme Court just passed, not only pretty much saved DACA away from Trump and sending the people back home because of the technicality, they say, but really they're not really for it because they know that they want those people to work. They want the people to come in and work at a low wage because they see what's happening with farming right now. That's one. Two, they just came through and they used shall not be discriminated because of race and sex. Guess what, Caucasian woman? Your rights are in danger. Your rights have just been forfeited. The race rights have been forfeited so long ago, but now making people who are transsexual, which I'm not knocking what people do what you do, but it should be a whole set of laws that they have fought for, not being amendments that have been put in that they fought for into the Constitution, and not being taken from us, and then when it's time for us to use those same 13, 14, 15, the Supreme Court somehow finds a way to not validate that, but they find a way to use it. So sex has to do with women being discriminated against on the job, because if you remember back in the day, women couldn't own land. They had to have Mr. and Mrs. And their name most likely wouldn't even be on there. It would be Mrs., Mr. and Mrs. such and such and such, right? And they couldn't own land, and so the most would be smart. They would still do the everyday banking and everything, but it always had to be a man first. That's the vestiges of not having that, or coming out of buildings working as a typist. And as you're walking down the street, Caucasian men on Caucasian women basically violating them and touching them up as they're walking down the street, grabbing their breasts and their pencil nets, grabbing their butt and all that, right? Caucasian women, your rights as being a woman, being a woman have now gone in jeopardy. And we would like to thank you because you were there to try to make sure that the black man with the 15th Amendment didn't get the vote before you got the vote. So we would like to thank you because, turnabout is fair play, and it's all turning on you now. And, we say thumbs up on that, but we just want to let you know that the first strikes of you being of a transsexual or LGBTQ being equal to you has just happened in the Supreme Court.
Is that why Karen is upset? Because we've seen Karen.
Yeah, Karen
throughout
is upset.
Karen is upset
but Karen is upset with the wrong people. Karen was able to use because it became minority, and somehow Karen became a minority. Karen and Susie and Scarlett became minorities, and somehow they became minorities.
Well, that was
and they
for
were
the business
able,
loans.
They were able to get all that, but
Right.
now they are considered, LGBTQ are considered equal to Caucasian women. Welcome to the Terror Dome. Welcome to the Terror Dome. And it serves you right because you've been out there doing it and not wanting black people, black women, black men to be on the same level, and you've been out there fighting with the women's suffrage movement and the women's lib, which didn't start with you. Started with a black woman named Flo Johnson. And Flo Johnson was going at the man. And who was the man? The Caucasian. He wasn't up there going at the black man. So we would like to thank you. And Flo Johnson was LGBTQ.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
And so we would like to thank you for twisting it so much that now your rights are now affected. Welcome to the Terror Dome.
Well, I'm going to wrap up really fast.
Go ahead.
Okay, so on the bold type, right?
Mm-hmm.
So bold type is a combination of, it's a great show, a combination of Sex and the City meets Devil Meets Prada. All three lead characters are all strong women. And you talked about the one that's LGBTQ, and then you have the other two who are heterosexual. But then Kat, it's hard to clump her as LGBTQ.
No, she's bi.
Because, but then her character, she said she's more of I love everybody, right?
Yeah.
So because she goes through her phases where she'll date all men.
So we went through all that to tell you that this show
is well
pushes.
written.
It is well written.
They talk about cancer.
Right. They talk about everything, but it is an agenda on the show. So if you can stomach seeing the agenda put out in front, because to me it's like live and let live. So I can watch the show and enjoy it, but I say, oh man, here we go with the agenda to try to make everyone be the same when everyone's not going to be the same.
But the good thing about it is that if you're someone that actually watches the show every season, right? You see, it's multiple storylines. They hit on racism. Like Kat, she dealt with racism. She dealt with a Karen, a white woman who told her she was clearly in the wrong neighborhood, right? They deal with sexism, cancer, right?
They have different topics.
Just
that have
topics
to do,
on
that
everything.
would be within a women's magazine.
Yeah, and it's well
the inner
written.
workings, the politics within inside,
heterosexual relationships. But the show, the fashion is great. The music is great.
Tanya Congress said they're trying to normalize it through desensitizing first. Exactly, and that's what I said. So,
but then you see that on everything.
Right. That's on everything. Now, all I say is I'm not afraid to talk my heterosexual. Right. Respect my heterosexual, and then I respect your LGBTQ, but respect my right to be.
We didn't get a chance to hit on Billy Porter. It's so many others.
So many things.
Next week.
Well, we can talk about. But let me see how much time we got. Like Billy Porter, we got 1 minute. Billy Porter comes out in the middle of this fighting for rights and comes out and talks about the black community. Black community never bashed and killed up transgender people, or they might have talked about them, or they might have ribbed them, but they didn't get up there and kill them like the way Caucasians do. Right. How the Caucasian officers killed the transgender just about a month back, and it was caught on tape. Right. We didn't do that, but yet it's like it's being focused to try to take out the heterosexual black male. Right. right? And so we just say, respect our heterosexual, respect us, we respect you, and that's the way it is.
Because the Stonewall riots, right?
Right.
Like, did he forget about that? But a lot of people found that interesting. So, in the middle of everything that's going on, instead of him focusing on police brutality,
right,
and
being
racism,
one, saying this is one,
right, and
he's in this inner battle,
right.
Black Lives Matter is doing in that inner battle, instead of focusing on the prize, which is the end, that so that the brutality wouldn't happen to black men, wouldn't happen to LGBTQ, wouldn't happen to black women, wouldn't happen to etc. within the black thing.
So that was just weird. That was weird.
This has been another great episode of the Film Review. Movies, Music, Culture, Politics, Society podcast. We are the husband and wife team. I'm Crazy D.
I'm Tracy.
And we review movies, music, culture, politics, society. Yeah. And we will see you next time on the Film.
Stay healthy and safe.
View.
The Film Review. Movies, music, culture, politics, society podcast. Interviews, movie reviews, and more. Live Sundays at 5:30 p.m. on the Film Review Live channel. Subscribe.
Hi, this is Bernadette Stannis, Thelma from Good Times, and you're watching the Film Review.